them are getting close to being mothers.
Well,
So,
we've got 11 between hers, theirs, and his. We got 11.
oh my
And at
goodness.
Thanksgiving, Sue was saying, inside and outside, but it's walnut on the outside and I don't remember what it is on the inside, ash or something on the inside.
You brought that in here, didn't you?
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Well, a couple weeks ago, well, it was right after the last meeting. At the last meeting, Scott said that there was a
turn has been down here. So, not right now. No. They meet one every other month in Peoria and then in Bloomington. And I've made it to their meeting once, but that's a weird question to ask the first time you meet a bunch of people. Be like, hi, can I come to your house?
Yeah.
Essentially. I promise I won't hurt myself or break your tools.
Alright.
So the challenge is they only meet in Bloomington once every other month, which means for me when it's Monday nights and most of the time in Champaign holidays. And so then if we get back by 6:30, which is already a challenge.
Alright, everybody. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you everybody who came out tonight. We had what? 7 in attendance plus myself, 8 total, so we've got a few that are out sick tonight, so hopefully they get better soon. Note-wise, I think I got some more information from Dan Augustin about the turning Saturday. Get that pulled back up here.
September 13th.
So it is September 13th at Youth Build over in Bloomington. We were just talking about that back there.
What's the time?
He doesn't have a time on his email yet, but it's probably going to be like about the same time frame as we had ours. Probably about 8, 9 in the morning to about 3, 4 in the afternoon would be my guess. He's looking for a professional demonstrator. If you have any thoughts on who and what you would like demonstrated, get a hold of Dan. So if you have any ideas on who might be a good demonstrator for him. They already have somebody to prepare lunch that day. And he's looking for demonstrators from different clubs. So if there's something you would like demonstrated, or you would like to demonstrate, get a hold of Dan. If you need Dan's email, I have it. I can get it to you. They're contacting vendors of wood-turning supplies in March and April for raffle prizes. So that's what I've got on that one. Other demonstrations going on. April 11th and 12th, Midwest Pin Turners. It's up in Chicago at the Marriott Northwest. September, the Segmented Wood Turning Symposium. That's up in Northbrook, up around Chicago also. Looks like Tennessee's already gone by. And other than that, that's all we got right now. Demonstration wise for us, next month, Cody's going to be doing the pig bowl. So if you missed that, it's a little bowl he had, a little shaped like a pig. Interesting. Sam, you're doing a square bowl. What was in April?
An off-center square.
Off center. Okay. Let me add that. I just heard square bowl. All right. That leaves open the rest of the year, so May through December. If you have any ideas for what you want to see, I know you were talking about finials, someone doing a demo on finials, so if anybody has a affinity for doing finials, I'd like to see that one. But other than that, that's all I have right now. Anybody have any other business or anything to bring up? No? Nothing new, nothing old, nothing borrowed, nothing blue. I guess since we don't have a demonstrator tonight, so if you'd like to do a little more explaining on what you brought in for show and tell, that'd be good. I know, I think John, you've probably explained about 10 times over on your stuff tonight.
Yeah,
so.
we've been talking about it the whole time. So last month, there's only a handful of folks here, and they're looking for something to demo. So actually what we had was a discussion about how you do this stair-step illusion. I had seen it on a YouTube video, but they did not tell you how to do it. He just showed you. So between Sam and I and a few other guys in Decatur, we kind of figured it out, and this was my first attempt, but I did a really terrible job of getting the corners to line up. So we had a discussion about different ways to do it that would get a better job. And so we talked about a lot of things. We talked about trying to eliminate this line in here and make this all one diamond. And so I tried that, but that doesn't work because what you actually wind up with is it just keeps on going out straight. There's no way to make it turn in a circle unless you figure out some way to do multiple compound angles. But we talked about a lot of different things, and it was a very interesting discussion. Really enjoyed it. So I tried a second one. I did a much better job of aligning the points and everything, so we did accomplish something. And this one I did with the double spiral. So it was interesting. This is cherry, Paduke, and box elder. And the finish on this is matte spray lacquer. And then we had a little gathering at Roger Cookson's shop on last Saturday, and so we turned this little banana bowl, and we're pretty sure this is Bradford pear. It was really touch and go because there's not much holding this rascal together. In fact, like Doug said, the only thing really holding it together was the chuck. So, but it turned out pretty nice. It's all right. Could have done a better job of sanding. Other than that, it's okay. Well, that's what I got.
Show them how your urns open,
What's that? Oh,
how they open.
well, this one is an urn, and it's got PVC plumbing fittings in there. So you just bought the male and female plumbing fitting. They fit real nicely in a chuck. You just use a parting tool to part them off and glue them in. So that worked pretty good. A lot less expensive than brass. The brass one's now at 30 bucks or so.
You could turn threads in it.
I could do that.
And nobody's taking me up on it.
I've seen it done, but I can't.
And this one's just a lidded bowl, but this one I got the lid to fit really good.
I tried to take it off a moment earlier, and I was like, oh, you're not gonna force that.
Okay.
Mine's just a little old, I guess. This piece of hackberry I got from the club a couple months ago, and it was sitting in the shop cracking, so I thought I better use it before I lose it. So it was about this long. By the time I cut the cracks off both ends and then started turning it, and this end kept cracking, so that's all that ended up with out of it. Piece of hackberry. Oh, and I had a catch. I was getting the very bottom and had a catch, and that tool handle come up and smacked me right in the face mask. And I thought, and if I'm using the tool on the lathe, I usually have my face mask on, and that day I was glad I had it on.
Betcha.
Worth every penny on that mask.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, I brought in 4 of these wig stands. Mike Sargent had glued up some pieces, and he's no longer able to do much on the lathe at all. He's pretty much stopped doing so. So I took his pieces and ended up finish them up there. But you can see the pieces are glued together, but they're not, there's a few solid pieces, most of them are already glued up. Did not throw them away, still got a few more to do yet. Now, when I brought this is the one I did in 22. And actually, we use this as a fruit bowl and bananas and oranges and apples and you name it, whatever. But it's Carpathian walnut. And I got to checking to see just, where does Carpathian walnut, where that come from? Well, it's from the Carpathian Mountains, which are over in Europe. It's a second longest range of mountains in Europe. Runs Poland, Ukraine, and on down toward the Black Sea area. But the sad part of it is that when I cut this tree down in our yard, because it was going out over the neighbor's field and interfering with his equipment coming through. So I took it down, and it was a good 2 foot in diameter. I took and saved some pieces that were 14 inch and some that was 12 inch. I let the guy take the rest of it away. And then once I started to turn it, I knew I'd made a big mistake. But we've all made mistakes like that. Let something go that we shouldn't. But it's very interesting wood. It's a little different than, your black walnut or your other walnuts. It's just has more pattern to it. So kind of a nice wood. It's called the royal wood. So it's a wood used in royalties furniture over in Europe. So.
Very nice.
But I don't know where you would get it. I went online trying to see, could I buy some of it? Can't find it.
I
So
bet you if you went to Carpathia, you could.
that'd be pretty expensive.
Probably would be.
So anyway, we have one piece. Each of my kids have larger pieces than this that I gave them. So we hung on to a little bit of it, and I sold quite a bit of it. So there's quite a few people around who got pieces of that.
All right, so last month, I think the challenge was working with a skew, and so I've recently gotten, real tools, and so learning how to use them. So I did a little finial here with the skew, Wenge wood, and then this is just a little piece of Osage orange, and then that is like the natural edge there. It was just a small piece, I think, that I won in a, raffle giveaway thing, but you just set it off center enough so that that's hanging over the edge, and then you'll have natural edge, you'll have a hole in there. So little hole, pretty thin. I like it. At least I don't think I like the bottom piece that it's on, but I wanted something for it to sit upright and be a little bit more elegant. But all in all, it's decent. But it was fun to do. A slightly less good finial, I think, is this one. The piece itself, I really like. Again, some new roots, really good colors, some purples in there. Really satisfied with this in terms of like the, leaving the natural edge up, how like thin I made it so that you've got holes that you can see in, but it's not, too thin. It's got a good feel. And then I was like, I'll do a finial on this one too. Using like the golden ratio of your height, you can figure out, good ratios. But you can do like a shorter length or a longer length of that. So if this height is, I think, like 4 inches, you could make the finial like 6 inches or like 2 inches or something. I went with 2 inches, and that was the wrong number of inches because now it's really short and fat and squat, and I don't like it. So I'll hold on to this. It'll go on something else, but I'll remake a finial here just so that there is something in the hole. There's no finish on this yet, but I will put some poly on there, and that will be a nice piece.
Have you found a place to sell your pieces yet, or?
I haven't really. I still have enough room that I don't need to get rid of enough.
Knowing your work, I would be hard pressed to get rid of them, you know?
Yeah, and that is the challenge still, is like, I will need someone to pay as much for me to not have it, kind of thing. And so once I have enough, start running out of room, that ratio will go down. So I'm still holding on to most of them, but I'm happy with them, and at some point plan on, getting them to galleries or whatever that, hopefully it'll be nicer, people will appreciate, kind of thing. So it's in the thoughts, but not there yet. And
I don't know that I can get there with the work you do.
I know that gallery down in Urbana off of Main Street, they've had woodworkers in there before.
the one in
They
the
also want
art
to take a
mall.
50% cut
is-
and exclude you from selling anywhere within 50 miles, including farmers markets, craft shows, etc. It was not a big deal.
Wow,
Is that the
didn't
one
know
in the
that one.
cinema or the
It's the one in
one?
the cinema.
Because there's one on the corner as well, like on the second floor,
Yeah,
that
there's-
you can't see,
Yeah, that's run by one of the members of the CU.
the art league thing. Yeah, yeah. So I've gone in there and looked, and talked a little bit, but wasn't like super ecstatic with either of those. But at some point maybe. And one of the other things, I don't have a huge amount. I'm still turning maybe like once a week kind of thing, which is a lot better than it was doing the PhD when it was like once a month. But still, like, getting 4 pieces a month isn't really enough to really turn things out, I guess. So once I've got a big enough collection, then we'll start getting more. And then this last piece here, this is a small little turned box. And so I turned the inside on the lathe. This is just walnut, and I turned it into a conical, cylindrical cone, whatever. And then took it to the belt sander, and then set it down and did facets that are decent. They're not perfect, and I was going for better than just like random. I've done some that, like, it's a fine line. If you either have to do them perfectly or you have to do them randomly, because if you're not perfect and then it looks like you just did them off, that's kind of what I have here. But they're not bad. Then after going on the belt sander, then taking it to just a piece of wood with sandpaper glued or taped on, and then going through the grits there. Right now we're at 2,000 grit. I'm pretty happy with it, and this is going to be a ring box because in May I'll actually be getting married, and she knows about it, so it's already decided. We got the date, but I'll be putting a ring in here once it comes in, and checking that box, I guess. So that's the significance of this. I think someone else made a great box at one point too. So,
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you. But yeah, so that's what I got.
Not gonna wood turn a ring?
No, I actually did one for myself just to kind of like feel out different sizes and thicknesses. So I actually did that for the first time, but it wasn't like a real metal ring on the inside. It was just straight wood, which are a little bit more fragile. So, yeah. Yep, but that's what I got.
Go if you want to do it.
Yeah, well, I'm actually...
I'm Chris from Bloomington now. I've got a live edge one from some walnut I got from a friend's grandmother who lives west of town. They had a walnut tree come down. I got a call saying, hey, you want some of it? And I was like, sure. So I got this piece. Like it, the finish isn't quite right. Probably needs another coat or two. All I use is tung oil. It's warped a decent bit since I turned it, but I don't mind. Same with this guy, came from the same tree, just pretty piece of the wood crotch. Then a couple weeks ago, I had a flat middle piece of some of the larger walnut. This has the pith running right through it because I had lopped off either side. And then I decided to go at it with a Dremel and some carving burrs. I'm not in love with it. I think it looks nice, but I'll probably sell it because I don't have any interest in keeping it. So it's a little bit fun if you put a candle in the middle of it. I was working on tonight because I actually had a little bit of time to get to the shop and was playing around with a piece. It's butternut, and I don't hate it. I don't love it. It's not sanded and it's not done. But I'd be curious if anybody has thoughts on how to get these curves to look better, because I was just getting a lot of tear out and ended up trying to sand them to roughly smooth, but I haven't gotten there yet and just don't know quite how. So,
Like the dangerous method?
but
You like the dangerous method?
sure.
Just take your table saw.
That's how I do it, exactly that way.
Like cut here,
Yep.
or could raise the blade and go this way.
You can just hold it there and raise the blade too. I mean,
But raising the blade is not gonna be the radius you need.
yeah. So you
Yeah.
gotta,
Some-
like
Sometimes,
if you're doing like a probe on it, like you can angle it, you get that radius.
Probably not going to try that, especially with this version of it. But
they even get more interesting if you tilt your blade.
Yeah.
And the legs will come out even more interesting. But it gets more scary too.
yep. So that's
So
what
if
I've
he
got.
comes in with one finger or 2 fingers short, why, we'll know who it is.
At least,
I like the 9 I've got.
at least try it with a saw stop.
Well, I got an idea. If you know what your radius is there, turn a just cylinder that's that radius, glue some sandpaper to it, mount it to like a screwdriver, electric drill, and then just.
That seems so tedious.
Just
I'd
chuck,
rather just give up on it.
just chuck up a can of sliced peaches or something, put it in and wrap sandpaper on it.
Maybe you can find someone with a drum sander that has that big a drum.
Yeah. That'll
That's
work.
quite the
Or,
problem.
or turn a drum the size you want, wrap it in sandpaper, put it on a drill. We got all kinds of ideas for you.
of those wings.
Fair enough.
My name's Kurt Rush, and this is pretty much this pattern here, except it's not quite the same. This pattern here, which is not exactly what it should be, okay, it's off. I regularly build cutting boards for people for wedding gifts, okay? And what I do, I watched it on YouTube, and there's some Russian guy that did it. I bet I watched that thing 50 times before I finally figured out how to get the right pattern. This pattern would be right, except when I glued this up, I made a mistake. It should go walnut, cherry, walnut, cherry, walnut on all the spots. And then this becomes a pattern that sticks out, kind of like trompe-l'oeil, fools your eye. You make it look like it goes in and out, just like this trompe-l'oeil, except it's all just boxes all the way across. And stacked it up and just then turned it into it. I was very upset. I didn't realize I glued it up wrong until I started turning it, and I said, "That's not working, Curtis. You've made a mistake here." But
Still looks.
I just kept it. Maybe next month I'll bring in the right one, and you'll see how much better it looks if you do it properly.
As Bob Ross would say, it's a happy little accident.
So tell us about the little square.
Oh, the little square dots? Well, when you start gluing these things up to make a cutting board, there's a lot of very straight, a lot of angles. You start with pieces and you end up cutting 30-degree angles and glue them up and 30 and then 90s and on and off. Well, sometimes when you cut those out, you can't get all the way out to the edge because of the way the angles run. So I had several pieces that had a little 30-degree angle cut on the edge. Well, I ended up gluing them together, then coming back with a saw blade I had and cutting that out so it made a 90-degree, and then I just stuck some walnut in there, surfaced it back off, and then glued it all back together so they became looking like dots in the center of these things. Which, had I glued the other part up right, would have been pretty dramatic because there's the dots and the thing that sticks out at you and you'd really jump out at you. Maybe next month I can bring one that's done properly.
Still a nice piece. Still a nice piece.
It is. It's exceptional.
Well, when you make it and you see something's wrong, you go,
It drives you nuts, but someone will like it.
If tell us, nobody would have known it.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen a piece that's been brought in and had show and tell that hasn't been something wrong, you know, like.
Well, I think that's just everybody
Yeah, I
getting
know,
critiqued.
that's the thing that I love, and it cracks me up where, you know, it's a phenomenal piece, but, you know, whoever's talking about it's like, well, I screwed up here, and you can't see it, but, you know, this, and it's great.
Got some of those in my car and bring it.
Well, that's all we've got
That's it.
tonight.
That's all, folks.
I turned one piece this month for a coworker that's retiring. I forgot to take the actual pictures of it before I shipped it out this morning. But basically, he's retiring to play pool, and so I made a pen, and this is the inspiration for his, that's his actual pool cue.
You can bring it over to the camera. and-
You didn't make the pool cue for him?
I did not make the pool cue for him. So the real tricky part on this one was those black and white inlays. I ended up taking some polymer clay. It was the first time I've worked with that, which was kind of a bit of a pain in the butt because that's definitely not my medium. And trying to get those strips lined up perfectly and with enough adhesion on them without kind of warping the pattern. So what I ended up doing was I laid it out, kind of squished them all together, and then took the pen blank, rolled it around the pen blank, and tried to get it as adhered as possible. Baked it off, which kind of sets it, but it's still plasticky. And then I went over to the lathe, and then with an X-Acto knife used as a parting tool, kind of cut these really thin rings out of it, and then kind of had to sand them down so they were flat. And so they broke, a number of them broke. I'm glad I made, out of the probably 15 or so rings on that, I ended up getting enough usable that I have it, and they're completely flooded with CA glue, but it turned out. So we got cherry, got the polymer clay, got some maple thioburl on that one, so it turned out pretty nice.
Looks good. Yeah. Yes, it does.
That's what I got. But yeah, other than that, I haven't had much time to get back out in the shop.
So, like I said, we don't have a demonstrator tonight.
In
Yeah, Kurt?
in your email or your message to us, you talked about maybe looking on YouTube for video people.
Mhm.
And I've been watching this one guy who was recommended to me by some people over in the other group I'm in. And his name is Tomislav Tomasic. And he's from like Croatia or someplace like that. He doesn't speak a word. All he does is turn. He's a good turner. So if you get a chance to go on YouTube, and it's let me see if it's Tomislav
I watch a lot of his videos.
He's good.
Isn't he the guy that just got a new shop?
I don't know.
I think he just got a new shop, and it's, it's one that we would tear down, and for him, it was a big improvement.
But he does. If you goes on YouTube, he comes up with just amazing turning things. And he is so good with his skew, man. He just works magic with it. He
Have
really
you
is.
seen?
And he doesn't say a word to you.
Is-
Somebody writes English down there, says, if you want to join my group, do this or that. He doesn't speak.
He's got a lot of tools and everything.
The best of YouTube video. Woodworking without speakers.
I guess I'll mention, I was gonna bring it in, so last month I brought in the little pig bowl that I had made, and so I was gonna bring it in and I forgot to, so I'll show you guys a picture of it, just so that if you weren't here last month, you know why to come next
It's right here on
month.
screen.
Thomas,
Hey, John? But if you want the pig bowl picture,
Yeah, once people have written down that guy, I can show it.
He does all kinds of stuff too.
brainstorm some ideas for demonstrations?
It's up to if someone wants to demonstrate, pretty much.
Also, again, I'd love to see thread chasing.
What is it?
How to make threads.
Threads?
Thread chasing.
Well, I belong to another group over in Indianapolis. And that group's been around quite a while. And there's a guy over there, his name is Tim. No, I go on. Let's forget that. He has demonstrated over there several times for turning threads. Excellent turner, and it is very hard to turn threads. You have to know how to do it just right.
This is why I want to see some videos.
Does anyone have thread chasing tools?
Yeah, they make.
Well, I know they make them, I just didn't know if anyone even has.
No, I use the
Do you have a set?
His name is Tim King.
I have them, I don't even know if I can find them, but I have them.
Okay. Because, I mean, it could be a thing where we practice with them kind of thing and then use them, you know, borrow them for a little while. And then, because I've seen it done as well, but I've never done it all on my own. I've tried it at one time and it worked, but you had already gotten it started, so you just kind of like follow it.
Don't turn it very fast. 300-400 RPM, maybe something like that. You have to build up the rhythm. That's how he does it. The really difficult part about it is when you try to turn it into a shoulder, you have to have a gap down here. So that because if you don't, you can't thread it. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can't get it started because the threads, when they go up against the thing, you don't have any room to do the little trick, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they turn a little gap on it, turn the thread, and then they'll do the inside thread on the other piece, which is somewhat easier to do because you have both sides, free. You don't have anything to hit. You got this little stud sticking out here. You have to thread the stud. Put the nut essentially up to it. You can thread all the way through the nut because it's hollow on both sides. But when it comes up to the stud, you have to have a spot here where there's no threads and you have enough room that you can get your thread to go through it. It's tricky. It's very tricky to do. I've watched them do it several times.
Don't the very bottom of the threads, if it's into a solid piece of wood, don't they turn away a little room at the bottom, like for air pressure?
Exactly.
And I've seen, I think it's Wyoming Woodturner has a couple of videos out there turning threads. It's really good.
So you want to show that picture?
Yeah, so this real quick. Which this isn't the group to, really show because you guys are the ones that are here, even though it's cold, so you'll probably be here next month. But so that's what I'll do next month. A little pig butt. I've got some more, or I will have some more. I've got one up, but there'll be a little bit more anatomically correct. That one was just a proof of concept. So the legs are just kind of little stubs, but the other ones will be a little better in terms of hopefully looking like legs kind of thing. So I should have some time to play around with that and some other ideas. But so I plan on doing that next month. I don't think that I'll need the lathe. I think most all of the concepts are pretty easy. Like I think it should be pretty easy to get. So I'll have like some different stages of the operation to show. But that's what I'll be demonstrating next month. So yeah. But again, you guys are the ones that toughed out the cold this month, so likelier to be the ones that show up next month anyway. So.
Scott and I had talked in passing once about to do a lecture on running a business and basically how to lower your tax liability by having a business. So, if anybody's interested.
That's certainly been an interesting one to go over. I've tried my hand at doing craft shows and all that, and it's
Well, that's the thing is,
Get so disappointed watching
have
people
to-
walk past, go, I can get that at Walmart for
you only
$2.
have to show $1 of profit every 3 years to be considered a business. And you can write off a lot of things.
I agree. I have a cabinet business. I've had this cabinet business since the seventies.
Yeah.
Woodturning is my hobby. So I've been building cabinets. It's amazing what you can do through a cabinet shop. Probably should put that on YouTube.
It's all legal.
Oh, yeah.
Check with your accountant.
I have an accountant.
Yeah.
I go to an accountant. I don't ask questions not doing anything illegal, but it's just amazing.
Need new shoes? Look for the shop.
The work shoes.
My miles here and back, I deduct them. It's a business expense. My dues is a business expense. There's a lot of ways, all your magazine subscriptions, everything. Research your business legally.
So if you give that demo, you don't want it filmed, right?
You can film it. I mean, there'd be a disclaimer that I'm not a licensed tax professional. Check with your own, but.
Yeah, disclaimer, big time.
Yeah, but it's just kind of showing, there's a lot of different ways you can structure it depending on what you want to do, so. But, I mean, at the end of the day, when I buy a tool, if I buy it as a person, I'm paying about 40% more than I am buying it through a business. So,
That'd definitely be one that,
And if you have.
probably be
your
good
own-
to hear.
If you have your own building, it gets even better. Because they write off all the electricity, insurance. But it gets harder if you do it in your house, because then you have to have proof and percentages and odds and things. But if you have another building that you work on, it really works for you. Which, if you happen to have a home address that happens to have two addresses, like an apartment and half or something like that, it works.
Well, anybody have anything else?
I'd like to see a bob bowl done,
A what?
a bowl from a board, bob,
Bob bowl?
yeah, bob bowl, bowl out of the board. Is what it's called.
It's where you cut
So you
the
cut-
tapered rings.
Yeah, cut
and
tapered rings and then glue it back together. It's a
Restack 'em.
bowl out of a flat piece.
I've made a couple, but I've used the bandsaw. I've never done it on a lathe.
Okay.
I've done that, just starting with a large piece and just keep going through the angle, and cut off one, and you cut off another, and
Yeah.
they stack up,
Yeah.
make a bowl that way.
Well, we are looking for demonstrators for the rest of the year, so if anybody has any ideas on some of these items.
That's what I had.
Well, we'll call it an evening then, if nobody has anything else. It's very early evening. Thank you all for coming out in this cold.
So those library books go on this cart?
Yep. Shut this down. Hey, there's Jerry and Mike. So everybody say hey, hi to Jerry and Mike. They popped in the chat something. Yeah, I'm gonna grab pictures of everything for everybody to put away here. Come on. Wow. You got a picture of that. Okay, it's beautiful.
I think should be a number of 2 cards.
Looks like a hoof.
That's what my wife said, it's like a hoof.
Yeah, that's the card right there.
I got one.
And
it's impossible to get the inside to line up with the outside.
No, that I'm not sure. Yeah, there we go. Were these straight at all, or?
Would you like to have it, or should I
Yeah,
wait till next?
this piece is straight.
Go ahead and wait till next month.
But
And if you really wanna give them to me, I can take them.
Because maybe wouldn't that be easier?
You'll be getting them next month.
I did try to line them up like that.
Unless you're hurt.
Because I suppose you'd have a lot of ways when you're doing this, but if you had two.
Not particularly, but
Just,
let me go ahead and,
you just put in these pieces and then.
yep, this down.
Cut out all of it. It would be waste.
One second, let me.